In this lesson, we're going to look at how we can use InDesign to create a basic theatrical playbill. Now, first off, you want to look at some of the criteria that have been listed online for you in the outline. And one of the first criteria is that we create an 8.5 by 11 inch resolution set intent to print in landscape. That way, when we fold it in two, it will provide us with 4 pages that are in portrait. You can check out a few of the sample playbills online to get a good idea of how that all works out. And so you have page 1, your cover, and then you have inside page 2, list of cast members, page 3, photos and bios of the cast members, and the back cover could be a synopsis of the play and also some thank yous. And we're going to be using images, borders, frames, colors, and so on and so forth to create an attractive looking playbill. Now I've taken a playbill here that was created that I thought was really organized, very attractive to look at, and there's a lot of symmetry. And you just look at how the text is laid out, the boxes in the background. Now, the first step in creating this playbill would have been to go to File, New Document, and as I had mentioned earlier, you want to set it to Landscape, and your intent is to print, and you click OK. Now, typically, what I would do is I would drag some guides in here so that you give yourself a good margin, a protected margin, so as that your text does not cross over into the fold or the seam when you do eventually fold your playbill. And to do that, what I'll do is I'll click on the ruler over here and drag out a guide. And you'll notice that the guide automatically wants to snap when it reaches the middle. So InDesign is mathematically very intuitive because it measures, but it also guesses with respect to what it is you're trying to measure. And here it assumed I wanted a guide in the middle. Now that I've found the middle, I'm going to add a few centimeters to the left and a couple of centimeters to the right. Oops, let me grab that again right there. There you go. And now I know that this would be my viewable or printable area, and any text or pictures I drop in I would want to fit within this space, and same thing over here. Now let's jump quickly over to the inside of a playbill, pages 2 and 3. That is already 80% complete, and what I really like about the way this particular arrangement was constructed is that really it's 3 simple objects that were used here to achieve a really clear, organized look that is colorful and interesting. You've got your frames, you've got your text boxes, which are on top of the frames, and you have your photos. The design technique was so simple that I've decided to deconstruct the bottom portion of page 3, and in rebuilding it quickly, we'll be able to explore how these simple objects were created and used, and also how we can modify some of the different features for each of the objects, such as colors and borders and fills and so on. So to start, let's finish off this bottom portion by creating another frame. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to take this text box and I'm going to try and start drawing a frame, and you'll notice that it wants to snap. It's showing me that it wants to snap and align itself with other objects that are in here. And then once I feel that I've aligned with the margins of the other boxes, I will let it go. There's a thin stroke around the edge. I'm going to turn the stroke off. That's this little button here. Let's turn that off. But I'm going to put the fill on. That's the top one up here. And for the fill, I'm going to use this dark cyan color there. Okay, now next, I'm going to go get some text. Now, Now, as the layout editor of the Playbill, all of your partners, your company members, should have sent you their bios, and they should all be in a Word document so that it becomes a simple copy paste job. So here's one of them that I want to paste into the document. And let me go back here. And this time, let me take my pointer tool and click off so I'm not selected on anything. And you'll notice that it's a little short, this box. Let me stretch it a bit more. There we go. Now it's perfect. Now let me take my text box. I'm going to click inside here and stretch it. And then I'm going to go edit paste. And there we go. Now you notice the text. Now that I've pasted my text, I'm going to switch to my pointer tool and I'm going to move it up over here. But now you'll notice you have a little red square over here. That usually means that your text has run out of space, and so there's actually some text that's not visible here, and the only way to make it visible is to pass your cursor over one of these white anchors, and when it turns into a diagonally two-edged pointer, just click and drag down, and you'll notice that the rest of your text appears in place. And now I'm going to use my arrow keys on my keyboard to nudge this over. Okay, I'm going to go back to my text tool. I'm going to click inside the text box and select all the text. And I'm going to change its color by going up here. And let's move up here and I'm going to choose white paper color. There we go. And I'm going to switch back to my pointer tool. Okay, now next I'm going to insert a picture. Let me click on an empty space in the document. And this time I'm going to go to File, Place, and I'm going to go get a picture. Let's use this one of Albert. Now I'm going to click inside this box and I'm going to drag it approximately what I think the size is. And it's pretty good in calculating the measurement of the actual picture so that it matches up with the other ones that have already been placed. Now let me click. Now you'll notice though there's a little more space up here below and above, so maybe I want to stretch this. I'll stretch this box. But when I do, you'll notice that the picture no longer fits the frame of the box. Do you see that? So what we can do is we can right click for Mac users, hold your control key and click on the picture, and we're going to go to Fitting, Fill Frame Proportionally. And there we go. This picture resizes proportionally. It doesn't distort and become too skinny or too large. There we go. Okay, let's repeat that process. Now let me go get one more picture. And before I do that, I want to point out that if I were to say copy this picture and I go to Photoshop, and in Photoshop I have one of these large pictures that we shot earlier in our virtual studio. Now this is way too big to be pasting in our profiles, but we can cut it down to size. Now to figure out the size of the pictures in my InDesign document, I'm just going to go to Photoshop and say File, New, and it's going to suggest a canvas size of that which I've just copied into memory. If I put this into centimeters, you can see that it's suggesting 1.5 by 2 centimeters. Now you notice that I've already taken my crop tool here in Photoshop and I went up into the crop tools properties and I set it to 1.4 centimeters by 1.8 centimeters. So if I were to click and drag and then just hit the enter key, this image is now cropped accordingly. So I will save this. And I'm saving this within my Playbill folder. I made a resized portraits folder, so I'll save it there. There we go. Now let's jump back to InDesign. I'm going to go File, Place. Now I want to point something out quickly. If I would have stayed clicked on this picture and I would have went File, Place, and then selected that new picture, which was M. Frank, you'll notice that it automatically is placed into that frame. And that's why I have a tendency to take my pointer tool, click on an empty space to deselect any object. And that way I'm doing a clean insertion. File, place. Let me grab this one. There we go. And there you have it. And so that's basically the three objects and the layout of the three objects with the use of text color and of course the frame colors to really organize, give symmetry, but also make it visually appealing. Now, in terms of the front and back covers, what's interesting here is this team, rather than take their poster, which a lot of people tend to do, they take their poster and they just paste it and they try to squeeze it and it becomes distorted and they try to fit it on the front page, which really then kind of undermines the overall effort and quality of your playbill. If you do want to use your Photoshop poster, what you should really be doing is saving a second version of it and resizing it and shifting all the elements around in the new size that would fit within this quarter page frame, and then import it and paste it in here. But in this case, what this team did is they again really went back to simplicity. We've got a yellow framed box that was placed here, and a text box with the title and the author, and then we have a picture. Now I've replaced their actual picture and put something different to preserve their anonymity. And now you'll notice that when I've positioned my picture, I've cut off the title that they had, their play title. That's because these are like layers. This object is now sitting on top of another layer. So what I can do is send this to the back. So if I right click on this object and I go to arrange and I say send to the back, to the very back. There you go. And now it's behind everything. And again, you have a yellow box here with some text over here and some basic text over here. Mind you, this page over here probably could have used, the back cover probably could have used a little more color given the artistry that existed throughout the cover, pages 2 and 3. But nonetheless, you know, they did a very good job. Overall, this playbill looked very professional. It was very well done, and really with the simplest of tools. Now, once you're done, don't forget to save your playbill. So I've called it Playbill Inside, and I've got Playbill Outside. And then you're also going to have to export it as a PDF so that it can be published online. So we'll go to File, Adobe PDF Presets, and we'll go to Smallest File Size, and we just hit Save, and there we will have a PDF version of our playbill saved. And don't forget to do the same for the front and back cover. Now, if you want to put everything in one document, you can always go to the Layout function, Pages, Add Page, and now we've got a couple of pages here. And what you would have to do is you would have to go get the other pieces of your playbill and position them on the two pages accordingly so that you have the cover, then page 1, and then on the next page, page 2 and 3. However, for the purposes of simplicity, you can just export your the inside of your playbill and export the outside, and that'll be just fine.